Every day brings another adventure in Willoughby, even when you're not expecting them. And working on the railroad is an adventure in itself. Orville, Pete, and a few of the other men are on the South Valley Run today, carrying freight and other parts to places far away. There's always a chance of danger on these trips, and any good railroader will tell you to look for the unexpected. Today was going to be no exception. Through the clearing, the men could see down the canyon to the trestle ahead, and that's when they saw them. "Cows on the track!" someone yelled, and you could hear the brakes squeal for a mile. "This is going to be close," Orville said to Pete as the train slowed to a sudden stop. "These cows are going to put us behind schedule." Making up this time was not going to be easy. Orville got out to look the situation over. "This is a fine mess," he said as he waved to the train. "Back up a little. It'll take a few minutes to get these cows to move. They're all over the track." Sean and Robert went out to move the cows off, and by the looks of things, they weren't going to have much luck. Sometimes cows have a mind of their own, and these cows had a mind not to move. Orville and Pete stood at the trestle and watched. They were looking down the canyon at the Indian pueblo and talking about how the Indians had made their homes among the cliffs. Orville began to tell of the Indians called the Anasazis, which mean the ancient ones. They lived hundreds of years ago in cliff houses among the canyons and the mesas. They lived and prospered there until they suddenly abandoned their homes, and when these people mysteriously departed, they left their villages and possessions behind. Today they are preserved in Mesa Verde National Park, which occupies a large part of a plateau rising high above the Montezuma and Mancos valleys in southwestern Colorado. Park roads are scenic drives with sharp curves and steep grades, and at the southern end of the mesa you can see 4 states at once: Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. At first, these people lived in pit houses, homes dug into the ground so that the walls of the pit were the walls of the house. They formed small villages, usually on the mesa top, and grew crops like corn and beans to eat. As the years went by, their descendants, who we know as Pueblo Indians, had begun to build above the ground. They built one against another in long rows and made their homes of sticks and mud. Near the end of the 12th century, something caused the Mesa Verde people to abandon their houses on the mesa top and move into the caves of the cliffs. They built the cliff dwellings, baskets, and pottery we find today. The Anasazi were a Stone Age people without metal of any kind. They shaped stone, wood, and bone into a variety of tools. This period of living in cliff houses lasted less than 100 years, and then they left the mesa forever. What caused them to leave? Perhaps the people were tired of their hard way of life, or left because of drought. Scientists know that the 13th century, especially the last half, was a time of repeated drought and crop failure. They think that when the cliff dwellers left, they traveled to the south down the valley of the Rio Grande River. They may have joined existing villages of Pueblo Indians or established villages in their own. After the Indians left, the cliff dwellings lay silent for hundreds of years. Not until 1874 was this 2-story cliff palace discovered by 2 brothers who were out chasing stray cattle. In 1906, the area became a national park, one of the largest archaeological preserves in the United States. "Well, we've chased all of our stray cows and didn't find any ancient Indian ruins, though. I reckon it's time to move on," Pete said. Orville was glad to hear that. Being on time is a way of life for a train conductor, but delays and changes are part of the job as well as part of life. And as he thought about it, he realized how sometimes things seem to just make time for themselves, even cows.